So now self-love to me is, what does everybody bring out within me that needs my love and attention? And how can I love myself so unconditionally when all those things come up and rise within me? That's self-love. I cannot control my mother or my father. I can't control that they're gonna be where I'm at so that they can tell me what I need to hear. My job is to honor and love them for where they are and go into my pain. A romantic relationship is the person that will dig it all up because you're the most vulnerable with them.
All right, greetings all and welcome back to Living Once Twice, the place where we rewrite narratives, reinvent ourselves, and reimagine our lives. I appreciate you all for tuning in today. I'm very excited for today's guest, Ellie Lee. Ellie is an on-camera personality on E!, MTV, VH1, iHeartRadio. She's also an actress, mystical life coach at Masters of Self University, where she helps people heal at the soul level and learn how to alchemize their pain into power. Her spiritual awakening 3 years ago changed the course of her life, and now her purpose is to help humanity come back to love and oneness. Ellie, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hi, Justin. I'm really excited and honored to be here and just share this space with you. Just thanks for having me.
Oh, I appreciate that. And I just want to thank you. And I always want to give folks a little bit of background. And I came into your work back in October where I heard you on Eileen Yu's Lavender podcast.
Yeah.
And the statement that people often say, like when the student is ready, the teacher or teachers appear. That's how I feel about you. Your powerful testimony on that podcast, and then getting to listen to your Just Woke Up podcast, and then all the work that you do with MSU. It's so transformative. Your story, I know essentially our conversation today for many people, they're going to mark this date on their calendar because I know it's going to change lives and have such an imprint on people's journeys. So I just thank you in advance for the conversation and your time today.
Yeah, and thank you. You know, the only way you can hear me is because it's igniting within you. And all of us that are doing this individual healing work this is how we change the world. You know, that whole quote of be the change that you want to see in the world. I used to be like, yeah, okay, whatever. And then as soon as you start really igniting and remembering who you are, that's how you change the world. So it's just an honor to be here with you.
And Ellie, using that word ignite, that is such a great launch pad because there's a lot of places I want to go with today's conversation. I definitely want to talk about how to build a conscious relationship. I do want to talk about your as a mystical life coach. But where I want to start is I was very intrigued by your background in entertainment. So I would love to hear you, like, what led you into the entertainment industry and how did the impact of being in that field also set you on the journey of your own spiritual awakening?
Yeah. Great question. It has so much to do with my story, and I think I had to be in that world to enter this world that I'm in. I have always been entranced by pop culture and entertainment. I remember I was a little kid and I was watching a movie in the theaters. I was like, oh, I want to be an actress. And then I realized that there were no Asian people that were actresses. So I buried that dream really quick. I was like, oh, people who look like me don't do that. So that's not allowed. And so I remember as a kid just really being like, that's not possible for you. And then I think being a kid who grew up in the 90s, like we used to have this show on MTV called Total Request Live. And it was like this live music video countdown show. And I was obsessed with like NSYNC and like Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera and all those people. And I used to watch those shows religiously. And I used to watch the host on there, Carson Daly. And I used to be like, oh, that's what I want to do. I was like, I want to be on camera and I want to sit down with all of these like popular musicians and I want to get to know them and understand their world and see how they got to where they got to. And so since I was a teenager, I was hungry. Like I knew that's the one thing that I wanted to do. I'd never done on camera before. My parents own kids clothing stores. Like nobody in my family or my environment or anything ever was on television, but it was something that was so like, I felt something within me just bust open. And so all in high school, that's my only focus. And in college, I went straight for internships and I interned everywhere. And I started auditioning with like no classes or anything, but I auditioned to be a host and I booked my first gig as an anime. Anime is like Japanese animation. And I started hosting like all these like anime news shows. And I was like, this is exactly where I want to be. And so from there, I started becoming a host for MTV Korea in New York. And then eventually I got booked for being an on-camera host for VH1. And I got to go to the Grammys and I was on a morning live show with all these celebrities and all these big big people. And then I became an iHeartRadio host. And so it's been 15 years of me doing on camera work and being in the entertainment industry. And during that time, I also was like, it's possible for me to be an actress. I'm going to dive in. So in 2011, I quit my 9 to 5 job. I booked this really small play in New York City that paid me $200. And I said, this is the dream. And I became a dog walker all over the city. And I was auditioning like a crazy person. And I was so hungry for it. I wanted it so bad, and I was consistently booking things. And I got this huge opportunity to host a big show in Los Angeles. So I packed up my boyfriend and my dog from New York, and we drove cross country, and I came to LA. And when I got to LA, I started spiraling because I
Mm,
realized if I don't make it here and I don't prove to everybody that I am something, that I'm someone, then I'll be a failure. And there's no room for me being a failure. So I need to make it. And so what first became like what was a dream, what was something that came from such beautiful authenticity, like it was like this genuine wanting to be an artist, became this like, if I don't make it, I'm going to be a failure. If I don't make it, then I won't be accepted. And it was so much of my unworthiness, so much of seeking validation outside of me. And I found myself 2 months in LA just spiraling. Like I wasn't booking anything. The job that I came here for fell through. I wasn't making any money. And I was like at rock bottom. And trust me, like Justin, I've been on rock bottom so many times in my life. And I'm sure we'll get into my upbringing, but I've had depression and anxiety since I could remember as a child. I could feel everything in this world. I could feel my family members. I felt such deep sadness within me, and nobody ever told me what I was feeling was okay. And so I've always been just the inner turmoil my whole life. And I think coupled with trying to make it in the world of Hollywood was just a recipe for disaster. And I found
mm,
myself on my knees at one point, and I was so desperate for something to hang on to because I also had all this religious trauma. I had been through a lot of things with my relationship with God, so I didn't have one at all with Source. So I was at nothing. And at that point, I was like kind of calling out, and I was like, I don't know who to pray to. I don't know what to call out for, but I need some kind of guidance. And an old friend popped into my head, and I reached out to her because she used to talk about manifestation to me, and I used to never understand what she was talking about. But I knew maybe she had the key to something. So I reached
mm,
out to her, and she led me to this program, and I just joined it, and I started inner child work. And as soon as I started inner child work, I realized, oh my God, I am fucked up and I have no idea what self-worth is, and I have no idea what self-love is, and I am at zero right now. I need to build. And that's when my life really began. And inevitably, I think when you start the healing journey, it becomes a spiritual journey. I had no intention of that. I always used to think the spiritual world was like a load of nothing. And also, I was brainwashed by Christianity to believe that anything outside of Christianity was the devil. And so,
mm,
all of these things I was entering into innately, like I knew there was something here because I was seeing angel numbers everywhere. I literally Googled, why am I seeing 1111 everywhere? Am I going crazy? And I had nobody in my life who was spiritual. So I knew something was going on within me. And when
mm,
angel numbers came up, I was like, whoa. And then all of these mystical things started happening to me, all these divine things, all these synchronicities started to begin. And I knew that I was led on this path for a reason. And so now that I'm in this world of just, I've completely awakened and I'm very conscious and I see through so many things. I saw that I had to be in the world of the third dimension. I had to be in the world of such surface level things to get to this place, because when I was in that world, all I wanted was fame, clout, recognition, and success, because I thought that that's what happiness was. If I achieved that, I'd be okay. If I achieve that and people know me, then that's it. That's my worth. And now my awakening has taught me that all of those are illusionary. That means nothing. That connecting back with who you truly are, that's where you want to be. That is success. That is validation. And to know now that I don't need to seek it outside of me at all, that it's all within me, has given me so much power. And now I can stand on two legs and I can be in this place of the knowing that I am unconditional love. I am the love that I seek outside of me. But to know that and to embody and integrate that are two different things. So I'm constantly on this journey of evolution, and I'm constantly just just I can feel my consciousness constantly opening and increasing and leveling up. And so I had to be down there to get up here.
Mm.
That was long, but that's kind of
No,
like the summary.
Ellie, no, that wasn't long. That was what makes you so powerful and inspirational
Mhm.
as a being because of your journey. And you were talking about you
Mhm.
didn't know what manifestation was. Hearing you talk about in your earlier years how you knew at a young age you wanted to be on TV. And I'm a class of 86 kid, so TRL and all of that was a part of my upbringing as
Yes.
well. But
Yes.
you manifested your dream into reality
Yeah.
into the entertainment world.
Yeah.
And but it was so interesting you to also talk about this thread of how you were tying those achievements to
Mhm.
worth. And I
Yep.
think for so many of us, that's how we become programmed, especially from this
Yep.
outside world of it's about the success and the fame and the materialistic things.
Yep.
That's what our sense of self-worth is all attached to.
Right.
And leading up to that spiral you talked about when you came out here to California to LA, it's almost like that's when the foundation of all those things that it was rooted in began to break and began to shift. And
Mhm.
I guess it allowed you to go on this journey of remolding yourself.
Yes.
So can you just take me back because you did talk about this transition from the East Coast to LA
Yeah.
and not really having an understanding or healthy understanding of what self love was.
Yeah.
So what was your definition or what did self love look like to you? How was or even a lack of self love? How was it manifesting itself
Mm.
during your time in LA? And like, yeah, what was it like looking like?
Yeah.
Just to kind of take people like what that was like, especially because you were in the entertainment industry and you kind of
Yeah.
got to
Oh my
that
God.
started to
Yeah.
kind of help you unravel that your own meaning of self-love in that during that phase.
First of all, we live in a very unconscious, unenlightened world, right? So nobody teaches you about self love, right? So, first of all, there's that. Then, secondly, like culturally, I'm Korean. And in our culture, like there is no self love. Okay. We
Mm,
don't even talk about mental illness, let alone like loving oneself, right? And so, those things together I didn't have any sense of what it meant. And even when I began my journey, even the definition of self love is constantly evolving for me because at first, what they teach you is it's self care. So go take a bath, go do things for yourself. And like, while those things are obviously so important, that's not really what self love is. And so for me, being in the entertainment industry, like, Justin, you should have seen me. Like, when I came out to LA, it was all about who can I suck up to and who can I be close to so that they can give me a chance. And so
mm,
I was constantly surrounding myself with people that didn't make me feel good. Like intuitively, I knew these are not my people. This is not the energy I want to be surrounded in. But because I didn't know anything else, I literally did not know anything else. So I was constantly putting myself in environments and in situations with people that made me feel like shit because all I was doing was giving my power to them, right? Like, what can I do for you? Oh, you're amazing. You're this. I was people pleasing constantly. I was sacrificing myself constantly because I knew that if I made them feel so important and so great, then they would give me a chance. And that is such a lack of worth within myself. That's such a lack of love within myself because someone that loves themselves wouldn't freely give out their power. It was like
mm,
I was putting people in high pedestals and high places. So like I remember I manifested this woman to help me like with my career, right? And every time she called, I would drop anything. Like even when she wanted to meet and it didn't work out for me, I would switch up everything so that I can make it work for her. Things like that, right? Or I found myself constantly being so weak in her presence and trying to grasp at anything so that she could know that I'm something that I wasn't. It was all of these things and then I would come home and I would cry because I knew I was never showing up like my authentic self. I knew that I was giving so many parts of myself to others so that they can eventually give me something back so that I can feel something. And all of that stuff, like I had to go through that experience to understand what I was doing was that I was putting myself last constantly, constantly, right? And so even self-love now, it's not about like, oh, I do all of these things for myself. Like I thought even self-love was like I left my relationship, my partner for 4 years because I was like, I love myself enough to leave. Yes, I loved myself enough to leave, but I was also too weak at that point to face all the things that he was triggering within me. Right. So I thought the solution was, I love myself. So I'm leaving this because you don't serve
mm,
me. When actual self love was, Actually, let me stay and see all the things that he brings up within me so that I can go into that and love that within me so that I can leave from a place of power. I didn't leave that relationship because I was powerful. I left that relationship because I didn't want to deal with his shit anymore, because I didn't want to deal with what he made me feel. So now self love to me is, what does everybody bring out within me that needs my love and attention? And how can I love myself so unconditionally when all those things come up and rise within me? That's self love. And that is hard to do because we are not taught or raised to know what it means to love ourselves when shit gets hard, when we're quote unquote broken, when trials and tribulations come to our door. We learn how to abandon ourselves over and over and over again. And self love is, how do I not abandon my little self that shows up in those moments? Because when we are triggered, when we are going through pain, when depression comes up for me, when unworthiness comes up for me, when anything pops up for me that feels uncomfortable, what I've always done is do anything but not feel that. I don't want to feel that pain. This is what we all do. We don't want to feel the fear. We don't want to feel the unworthiness. We don't want to feel what it feels like to feel small. So we do anything but to feel that feeling. And what we do in that moment is, that little part of you, the 5-year-old you, the 6-year-old you, the infant you is showing up in that moment being like, I didn't get this as a kid. And now I'm showing up because I want to feel loved. I need to feel loved. And we go, no, and we abandon them over and over and over again. So of course there's a lack of trust within. Of course there's no connection within. Of course there's no love within. Because what we do when we show up, we go, no, and we push them down and we suppress them and we drink it away and we go work it out away. We do
Mm.
all of these things, but to spend time with that version of you that is showing up, that needs your love and attention. And that's what self-love is how can we show up radically for them in those times where they need you?
This is what makes you remarkable, Ellie. And once again, just an amazing and inspirational soul. Because what stands out to me is you had to redefine some of these terms for
Mhm.
yourself. Because once again, as in your upbringing, and I think for so many of our listeners out there, we weren't given healthy models of this, of what it means to be, to love yourself, to show up when it comes to certain values. And so, yes, we take on the values of the world, but in a
Yep.
way, we also will may fake it until we make it. It's kind of our approach
Right.
where we're shrinking ourselves. We're not honoring the authenticity, our true voice. Because you talked about some of those examples of where your body, your spirit was telling you this or that person is not good for me. I think folks that can resonate with their work, with the relationships that they may be in, that they know it's not serving them.
Hmm.
But you're right. We turn down that frequency, we turn down that noise, we numb ourselves, we suppress it. And hearing you talk about the only way for us through to the other side is through pain. I want to share a quote with you about the power of us turning into our pain to finally start to unravel this, because this is kind of the time we're in. And this is what you shared about loving your pain, because this could kind of be one of the gateways to us getting to that side of love, which is,
Hmm.
I heard you say the warrior's journey is to look at your wounds. The warrior's journey is understanding that it's so uncomfortable to sit in the ugly and feel the ugly. And you talked about the ugly as it related to those different feelings of unworthiness and other
Hmm.
aspects of yourself. So when you speak about the aspect of starting that healing process, once you
Hmm.
knew, okay, I've got to do this deeper dive into my pain. Yeah, what did that journey look like
Yeah.
once you finally knew it was time to begin looking inward and truly working on yourself?
Yeah. So when I had my spiritual awakening in 2019, there's so much information out there, right? There's so many quote unquote spiritual teachers. There's so many programs, so many videos. I mean, you could watch so much material on what it means to quote unquote heal. And so for 2.5 years, I was taking cold showers. I was meditating twice a day. I was journaling. I bought all the crystals. I did all of these things that were being told to me to do. And not those things they're not beautiful. They're beautiful tools. But why was it that I was still getting super triggered by people? Why was it
Mm.
that I was still projecting my stuff on other people? Why was it that I was still spiraling into like super deep, dark depression? Why was anxiety still show? Why were all of these things still there, but I'm doing all of these things that they're telling me to do? And so I knew that I was all over the place. Like I felt chaotic. And so I literally started talking to the universe and I was like, whoever is meant for my highest good to help me along my journey, to help me go deeper into myself, to help me to learn how to heal these wounds that keep showing up over and over again. Please guide me. Whoever's for my highest good. And one day I felt super depressed, and I got into my car with my dog, and I went into my podcast like search like app, and I literally wrote something about like my mind was feeling crazy. Like my mind was out of control. It was telling me all of these things and I was believing all of it and I was spiraling. And I wrote something about like something with the mind. And this random podcast popped up and I was like, F it, I'm just going to listen to it. And I started listening to it. And as soon as this woman who was a guest, her name was Rachel Fiore, started speaking, I literally felt like my soul started to vibrate. And everything that she was saying was just hitting over and over and over. Everything she was saying, I was like, who is this woman? And why is she telling me everything that I've been searching for the last 2.5 years, right? And so when I saw that she offered this program to become a mystical life coach, to understand how to become an alchemist, really. And I always heard that like we're alchemists, but I didn't really understand what that meant. When I joined this program, the 6-month program, I literally thought like, I'm going to learn a few things. And my life exploded. Because energetically, when you start to create the spaciousness, when you start to open yourself to look into what is underneath, all the things that you've been sweeping under the rug, all the things that are in the hidden corners of your psyche, in your subconscious, you create the spaciousness and the universe goes, you're powerful enough to see all of these things now. And all of a sudden, from week one, all these wounds that I didn't even know I was carrying started to pop up. Because I had been suppressing them for so long, I didn't feel the great depth of the pain that I was hiding within me. But the moment you go, I'm ready, let's see it all, let's feel it all of these experiences, these situations, these triggers started coming up. And I was like, holy crap. And so for 6 months, you learn, she gave me the tools to remember the power within. The work that I teach now as a coach is so simple and it's so radical, but it's so hard because we are undoing everything that we've ever known, which is hide your pain, coping mechanisms. Oh my God, learn how to cope with your pain. Go to talk therapy, go talk about it for months and years. But talking about it, coping with it actually keeps you in the exact same place, because what we don't understand is the universe will constantly reflect back to you the parts in your shadow that you keep refusing to see. So you can go run it away, right? And you feel better. People go on for a run and they go, I feel so much better. But you know that's going to come back, right? You know that's going to knock on your door again in a whole different way, or maybe the same way. And you can keep running, or you can choose to go into the pain. And I didn't understand what it meant to dive in the pain, because I've been like this. I've always been depressed. What do you mean? I've always felt the pain. No, I felt the pain, but I wasn't going into the pain. I wasn't honoring the pain. I had this one moment where I was sitting by this river and I had finished a 6-month program, and Rachel had always taught us like, we are the darkness. And this is what's wrong with the spiritual community too, right? It's like we're taught, it's all light and love. Just be light and love. But then you're dishonoring that you are the darkness. We are light and we are dark. And so I had this moment, I was crying and I was feeling so much emotional pain. And I had this like thing come through of like, you keep denying the darkness within. You keep denying the pain within you. You keep denying the shadow aspects that are popping up. That is you. These programs that we run of unworthiness, of fear, of scarcity, of lack, of feeling like we're not good enough, whatever you carry it within your energetic fields, that is you. But the difference between feeling and loving is that you can feel the unworthiness, but can you open your heart and bring love to it? Because if we truly honestly understand that everything is energy, you are energy, but because we live in such a low density, a low dimension, everything is just physical. But the higher we get, this brush won't become this physicality anymore. It will be energy. That's all there is, right? There is energy that's being exchanged between you and I. Your emotions, they're energy in motion. And energy can never die. It can only be transformed into something else. So if unworthiness comes up and you go into the unworthiness, you feel the unworthiness, you allow the unworthiness to be there instead of shaming the unworthiness. Because all I ever did when I got depressed was, I hate you. Why me? Why do you have to exist? And what does that do? That just denies that part of you. But if the unworthiness comes and I go, I love you. I know why you're here. I welcome you. I'm not here to shame you. I'm not here to deny you. I'm not here to hate you. I'm here to love you. And when you're ready to allow me to open myself deeper to you, to see where you were first birthed, where you were first created, because these energies were created at some time, then when I go into the unworthiness, when was the first time I felt unworthy? Who was the first person that made me feel unworthy? And when you bring up that aspect of you, that energy that was created when you were 2 years old, when 3 years old, when someone called you stupid, or when someone told you you were this or you were that, when you bring that child and you spend time with it and you love it and you say to it, like, I'm here. I know it's been hard. I'm not here to run away from you. I'm not here to hate you. I'm here to love you. So whatever you need from me, let's groove together. I'm not here to disobey your trust. I'm not here to leave you. I'm here to love you. When you begin to drop into your heart, make the connection to heart. This is science, but they don't teach you this, because if everybody knew this, we'd all be elevated and healed, and that's not what the world wants, right? So they keep you small, because when you're small, you're easily controlled. When they push fear on you, you become the fear. That's what they want. But when you begin to remember, words are codes. The remembering of who you are, the connection back to heart, and you ignite your light into the darkness, it has no choice but to transform. Because if everything is a frequency, if everything vibrates at a certain wavelength, right? Your lower frequencies of shame, of guilt, of unworthiness, whatever you're vibrating at, when it comes into unconditional love, which is the highest frequency, because love is the only thing that exists. If we truly believe, Justin, that we are all just fractal pieces of source, that is unconditional love, right? We are all one. So when you bring unconditional love to these lower frequencies, these programs start going, what are you doing? We don't know what this is, because they've been so powerful, because you feed them. You feed the fear. You feed the scarcity. You fear the lack, and that becomes your reality. But the moment you go, no, I'm going to love you, they go, what are we doing? And over time, the more you keep bringing your love to these programs, to these energies, they become to transform. And then all of a sudden, unconditional love is power. They transform into power. And the next thing you know, this one thing that triggered you doesn't trigger you anymore, because you've alchemized it. When you start to understand this truly and deeply, that when you bring love to your pain, it's game over. Because against love, nothing. When you talk to psychics, right, who truly understand this work, and like, let's say they talk about entities and demons, you know how you get rid of entities and demons? You open your heart, because they can't handle unconditional love. And when you understand that all you are is unconditional love, at the core of who you are not, I am Justin, I am a vegan, I am a teacher. You're none of those. That's what the ego attaches on to survive. When you realize I am the I am, and the I am is unconditional love, and you bring that to everything, bam, that's when everything begins to transform and transmute. And I'm on the journey. I know that I came into this life to go all the way, because I've spent a lot of lifetimes here. And I know in this one, everything has to come up for me to transform, for me to be the powerful being that I know that I truly innately have always been. But I've always been surrounded by weakness. I've absorbed so much of my mother's programs, of my father's programs, of my environmental, cultural programs, not to mention what we carry in our DNA and our blood ancestrally. Many of us came here to cut the cords, to literally stop generational curses from carrying on. Because look at our world. Because we've just been handing this over generation to generation, Mother Earth cannot hold this frequency anymore. This sadness. People are like, I don't want to go to hell. You're in hell. Earth is hell. Like, everything on this planet is hell. There is nothing lower than Earth. And that's why so many of us are waking up, because we are the frequency. We are the light. When we ignite it within ourselves, all of a sudden lights are shooting out of this planet. And what happens when billions of us do this? We shift humanity. And that's what many of us came here to do. That's why it's so damn hard. That's why this lifetime is so insane. They say everybody is looking to Earth because we are the incarnation to do it. That's why this work that I'm doing is so powerful. And yes, there are many ways to get to where we're all getting to the same place. That's all. We're all coming back to the remembrance that we are all one. That love is the only answer. But we keep choosing fear over love. And that's what keeps us exactly where we are. But what happens when we choose to love the fear? We rise. So yeah,
Oh,
that's my
oh,
short answer.
no, but hearing you share about this whole that aspect of transforming that energy that comes up, the shame, the guilt, the unworthiness, how the secret to it, the critical part of it is to greet it with love. I mean, that's so profound.
Yeah.
And I know it's not easy. It's easier said than done because
Mm-hmm.
it's like you said, it's something we're not used to doing.
Mm-hmm.
And where I want to go is I want to dive deeper into like turning that pain into love because sometimes the pain that we're harboring
Yep.
came from our childhood, came from maybe our parents and our
Yep.
upbringing. So how does one
Mm-hmm.
transform that pain, that trauma that might have came at the expense of a parent
Mm-hmm.
figure in their life? How do you turn that to love, especially if maybe your parent isn't doing this kind of work, so you're
Yeah.
not going to get an apology,
Yeah.
or they're living with their own traumas that you just kind of have had to navigate, and so you
Yep.
might not get once again that loving reaction, that I'm sorry from them. How do
Yep.
you still greet that with love in your
Yeah.
healing journey of trying to transform your pain into power?
Yeah. Beautiful question. First of all, this is what we do, right? We're constantly seeking external love and apologies from someone else because they think it's going to make us feel better. Because if we get the I'm sorry from them, then everything's going to be okay. But what we don't understand is that it's not the I'm sorry from them that you're seeking. We have to know we are all on our own soul's individual journey. And this may be triggering for people, but you chose your family. You chose to experience what you experienced in this life for a reason. So I look at my family now as, oh, they're all teachers. I
Mm,
can sit here and I can blame them all I want, or I can take divine responsibility over myself and go, actually, what did that experience teach? What did that do for me? Not to me, but for me. So I have so much pent up anger and bitterness and resentment against my mother. And my mother went through a lot of things. And you get to this place where you have to move through everything it's going to bring up as you walk into the journey of healing because that's all going to come up. So when I first started like really starting to go into myself, I hated my mom. I was so angry at my mom, right? And I wanted to go balls out on her. I wanted to be like, I can't believe you did this to me. I can't believe you did that. And then you begin to realize like, no, it was all perfect. Because of all that I experienced, I got to where I am right now. And now, how do I find love for that inner child that couldn't get it from mom and dad? Because mom and dad didn't get it from their mom and dad and their grandparent. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is generational. So you keep thinking that it's them that you're looking the apology for, it's them you're seeking the love from. But in reality, no, you're looking for you because everybody is you. They're just there to reflect what's missing within you. So when I want the apology from my mom, it's not that I want the apology from her because she's where she's at. You cannot expect these people to be where you're at because, again, everything, we all have free will choice. So people can choose to heal themselves or not. I cannot control my mother or my father. I can't control that they're going to be where I'm at so that they can tell me what I need to hear. My job is to honor and love them for where they are and go into my pain to understand like, yeah, I experienced that with you and that really hurt and that affected me in this way. So let me go listen to that inner child that experienced that. Because mom couldn't love you in that way, because mom couldn't show up for you that way, because dad couldn't be there for you, how can I be there for you? How can I show you that I love you? Because you're going to get to a point where you're going to be there for your inner child. And there's going to be a point where she's healing so much that she's not even going to need you anymore. She's going to look at you and be like, no, I got me. I don't need you. And that's when that inner child grows up, and that's freedom. That's emotional freedom. Because you're going to keep seeking outside of you. It's never been outside of you, it's within you. So I have moments where I'm in such gratitude for the way that I was raised or the experience that I went into because it's an opportunity to love me. And that's all this let me tell you the entire secret of this incarnation, of this life itself. Everything is self. I'm a reflection of you. I am you. And when people show up and experiences show up and all these things, they're just there to reflect a part of you. The universe is showing a part of you that needs your love. That is self-love. But people, that's why in relationships, everybody's constantly projecting other people. You don't make me trust you. You don't love me enough. You don't do this for me. Because they're not there to love or give you what you're seeking for. Who you're seeking for is you. And that is a deep, deep concept. And it is going to take people to constantly show up for themselves to understand what that truly means. Because logically in our mind, oh yeah, okay, I get that. And I went through that. I just started understanding this deeper. Like, I get that. Okay, yeah, I gotta love me. In my relationship, like, he triggers me so much, right? And he's constantly like wanting his alone time. And I'm like, yeah, you're right, because what I'm seeking for you is within me. But it wasn't until I began to truly understand, no, I'm seeking me, Ellie, because he is you. The love you want from him is the love that you want from you, because you are love. And when you begin to integrate and embody that and you keep going into that, you see that like, oh, everything is me. It's not outside of me, it is me.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is great. This is stuff of like that speaks to your journey, your spiritual awakening, your healing, the progress you've made. And you've talked about how we all have free will, but responsibility in this journey. And so when we're ready
Mm-hmm.
to lean into it, it's it's our work. Like we can't look for those outside of us to validate us, to heal
Right.
us, to give us closure. It doesn't work that way.
No.
But as you have also shared, like this journey can be intense, it can be painful because of what's going to come up.
Yep.
And so it can become easy, Ellie,
Mm-hmm.
for anyone to want to turn back when they're on this road of originally saying, I want to go on this route, but
Yep.
all the stuff that's coming up, it's intense, it's
Yep.
dark, it's lonely,
Mhm.
just too many dark nights of the soul. I want to go back to what was easy, to numbing myself,
Yeah.
to blaming the outside world,
Mm-hmm.
to drowning myself in my work, to whatever
Mm-hmm.
pleasures and passions are out
Yep.
there.
Yep.
How do you stay the course when
Mm-hmm.
it comes to these intense parts of the journey, especially when you want to give up or you just don't see
Yeah.
the light at the end of the tunnel?
Yeah. Justin, anyone that wakes up, there's no turning back. Because the reason why you woke up in the first place was because the other option was that bad. It was
Mm,
that hard. It was that shitty. You were so at the bottom that the reason you woke up was because you knew intuitively deeper there has to be something more. So when people go on this journey, yes, I've seen people fall off because it's easier to be unconscious. Hell, of course it's easier to be unconscious. Of course it's easier to be asleep. It's so much easier for me to go out and party, to smoke my weed, to get high as hell, to do anything but to feel this. But what's going to happen when I go back? I'm still going to be in that low, low, dark place. And that low, dark place, I lived in that for 32 years. And now that the light at the end of the tunnel is glimmering, the warrior in me is like, don't you ever give up. Because who you sacrifice is you. So the question is, will you go into the abandonment of self over and over and over again? Or will you go, no, I love me too much to abandon me again? And that's why this work is warrior's work. It is not for the weak. My mentor always says, weak people don't heal, warriors do. Because it's the willingness to show up for yourself day in and day out. So yes, I've seen people fall off and they go back into unconsciousness and I see them
mm,
suffer so much. And it's like the key is that you show up every day for you. And the question becomes, don't you love you enough to show up every day, no matter how hard it is? Because they will never give you what you cannot handle. So if you can handle this, handle it. Because you are powerful enough to do, you came here to do this. But if you abandon yourself, that's okay. You'll probably have to come back all over and do it again. But if you came here to go hard, go hard. Show yourself, prove to you, not to anybody else, that you can go big for you. I'm at a point where there are so many times where I'm going to give up. You think that I don't run programs of like avoidance, of wanting to run away? Of course, I feel it. Even this morning, I got triggered and I was like, I don't want to do this. And it's like, well, Ellie, it'll come back. So you're going to go into it now, or are you going to forsake yourself? And I'm like, no, I got to go in. And then when I get out of that, I'm like, thank God I did that. Thank God I just love that aspect of me because I feel so much better. But we're used to suffering. We're used to that. You don't have to suffer. Pain is the human experience. You will experience pain. My mentor always talks about like, you're going to experience death in your life. You're going to. But you don't have to suffer because of it. You can learn to love everything that comes up unconditionally. And that to me, I would do this journey over, no matter, it's so hard. Of course it is. You think feeling all of that isn't, it's not easy. If it was easy, everybody would do it. You
Mm.
know what's easy? It's easier to choose fear. It's easier to hide. It's easier to go drink and like get drunk and not feel it. Of course, that's easier. But I didn't come here for easy. I came here to do hard. So let's go. And I know that so many of us, we are one. I cannot give up on the rest of us. And giving up on the rest of us means giving up on me, and I'm not willing to do that. So that's what keeps me going, is that I know what we're here to do. I don't understand it, right? Because I can't see sometimes it's so hard to see the bigger picture. But when I connect to my heart, there's something so much bigger. That's the reason I'm here. So for humanity, I'm showing up. For Gaia, Mother Gaia, I'm showing up.
I love that you talk about, yeah, the importance of honoring yourself and how it's almost like when you go on this journey, the frequency gets so turned up that it's like it won't let you. Like for that's like a marker for people out there doing this work to know that you just got to hang in there. Is like your new self as you're shedding the old skin and you're becoming more comfortable in your new. It won't let you go backwards to those old things, and that's the beauty of healing and of leveling up and making progress.
Yeah.
And you were just starting to hit at, before we pivot and talk about relationships, you were just starting to hit at the collective.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear you share too, like how important has community been for you in helping you to sustain
Yeah.
this journey? And did you lose some friends along the way? Because I always didn't hear like people say like, hey, when they take on a new path of this self-love and awakening,
Yeah.
you got to make room for
Yeah.
new people in your lives, but it might come at the expense of old. So like,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
how was community in terms of your journey, and did you lose people along the way?
Mm-hmm. I get a lot of messages from people being like, I feel so alone on this journey, right? And like, duh, like what we're awakening to, it is going to be a lonely journey, of course, right? My family thinks I'm nuts. I've lost most of my friends. I lost 10,000 followers on Instagram alone when I started sharing my healing journey and I started opening up. I've lost a lot. And we always like harp so much on like, we need a tribe and we need a community. And what we don't understand is that's still being dependent on something outside of you. When you begin to really go on this journey, you honor everybody. The people that will love you unconditionally, no matter what you're experiencing, will stay. And the people that don't understand you, that don't accept you, you honor that they served their job and did their job for the time period and the season that they were meant to. Me holding on to all of these people is just me being still codependent and attaching to all of these things so that I don't lose them. When in reality, everything is as perfect as it should be. So there have been so many times on my journey where I have felt such deep loneliness, but I also know it's because I've been so disconnected from my divine self that connecting back to that self, of course, it's going to be, nobody's going to understand you. It's going to be hard. But that's just an opportunity and a gift for you to go in, to love yourself even deeper, to know that when you have nothing and no one, you still got you. Because everything is about self. And that doesn't mean it's not beautiful to have a community and to have a tribe, but needing them, the energy of need, it's codependency. The energy of need is attachment. When you choose to have a community, that's power. When you don't need these people or these everybody to be around you to uplift you, that's powerful when you have you. And then you can choose who you want to surround you with, to surround you. And trust me, I'm not 100% there. Like, I'm still like, I need my community. I need my boyfriend. I need my mentor. But I know that there will be a day where I will choose to have them around me and I don't need them anymore. But yes, this path is so lonely. But can you walk this path with being alone and not feeling the energy of loneliness? That's power.
Yeah, I just want to uplift what you said there about having everything. We already have everything within us to
Yeah.
sustain ourselves, to stand on our own, and then it becomes a choice who we allow to be a
Yes.
part of our journey and those that
Yes.
don't join us. That's so beautifully how you put it. Like they did serve a purpose
Hmm.
for that time, that season in our life, but it's okay. We can't take everyone along for the
Yeah.
ride.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so Ellie, to pivot a little bit, and I really am excited to talk about this part because when this does air, it's going to be in our typical like Valentine's Day season. So we're going to be just talking about relationship here, but
Sure.
I want to talk about going from a conscious individual to going into a conscious relationship because one of the things that attracted me to your work is you rewrite the narrative around relationships and this fantasy that is programmed into us at an
Yep.
early age of how love and relationships are supposed to be like.
Hmm.
And so one of the quotes I heard you share from your mentor, Rachel Fiore, is that relationships aren't here to make you happy, but to make you conscious.
Mm.
And so can you talk more about how your perception of how relationships has maybe evolved from that fantasy that once again we're all kind of planted that seed about to like how it's
Yeah.
evolved into what it is now when you talk about what it means to be in a conscious relationship?
Yeah. So we've all been fed a lie, right? Everything down to our TV shows, our movies, our books, or that when you meet someone, when you meet the love of your life, your soulmate, oh my, like you're going to frolic into the sunset. Everything is perfect and you're so fulfilled and you're whole and you're happy, right? So all of my life, that's what I've chased. Like, I don't want to be alone. I want to find the love of my life, fantasizing about what my partner's going to look like and what is he going to be like and when am I going to get married and all this bullshit, right? And every single person up until my partner right now, it's always been I wanted them to be there because I was so unhappy inside. So if I have someone that makes me feel whole, that makes me feel complete, then I'll be okay. And it wasn't until my partner where I truly realized, and my mentor's quote is one of my favorite quotes: relationships aren't here to make you happy, they're here to make you conscious. What we don't understand is we're all wounded, and our wounds are frequencies. So, what we even think and know about love and attraction is just wounding, vibrating with another person's wounds. You're vibrating at the same frequency. So, we think it's love. But you ever hear of trauma bonding? It's literally your traumas are vibrating at the same frequency. And then you think that's love. And you think, like, oh, I'm so attracted. I like them so much. I got the butterflies. Like, people think butterflies is like a great thing. Like, that's what love is. No, butterflies, that's an emotional program. That's anxiety. Why do you think that's getting triggered by another person? It's all frequency. And it wasn't until this partnership and my beautiful boyfriend, he is someone that inspires me on the daily because he dives into this work like I've never seen anybody dive into. And he triggers me every single day. Because when the partner that is truly meant for you and your path, they're here to help you grow and evolve. They're not here to fill you. I don't fill my partner. He doesn't fill me. He reflects back to me the deep parts of me that I don't want to see. Because a romantic relationship is the person that will dig it all up because you're the most vulnerable with them. And when he triggers me, like when before him, when I was single and I was like literally living on my own and like I was like, wow, I'm great. Like then yeah, I would be like triggered here and there by friends, but like I was like, I'm like really evolving, like I'm really growing. And then bam, he walks into my life and it's like I didn't even know myself because he started really bringing up the things, deep mother wounds, deep father wounds that like I didn't even know existed. And that's what it means. A true partnership will evolve you, will help you grow. And what I've learned is every time so I'll give you an example. Okay. We just moved into a new house, and he's been moving through a lot of things. I've been moving through a lot of things, and we're both working, and the house is a mess. So the other day I left for 3 hours to go run errands, right? And he knew that the kitchen was a mess, and he knew the house was a mess, and I thought that while I was gone he would clean something up, right? And so when I walked into the kitchen, I saw that nothing was untouched and that he was in his room with the door closed. And I saw the whole place was still a mess. And I was like, as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, he doesn't care about me. This is what my mind was saying. He doesn't care about me. He doesn't care that I wanted him to help me. He doesn't care that the kitchen is a mess and I've asked him to help me clean the place. He doesn't care about what I think or what I want or anything. And all of a sudden I started feeling super angry, super resentful, and I could feel all these energies being activated. So I went straight into my room, I closed the door, and I started dropping into my heart space, and I was like, this, what is this energy right now? Because clearly it's triggered something within me. So what is this? And when I went into it, bam, this is what's going to happen to you when you connect with your heart space. All these energetic memories will naturally, organically start popping up. And when I started feeling into this energy, my dad came up. And my dad, super loving guy, but super rigid with me. And so he never cared about what I wanted. So my whole life, like, he made me play piano, for example, and I hated piano. And after 5 years, I went up to him and I said, Dad, I don't want to play piano. It doesn't make me happy. I hate it. And he said, I don't care. You're going to do it and you're going to play it. When I was a teenager, I'd be like, I want to go out with my friends. Like, there's a huge party. I don't care. You're not going out. So my whole life, it was this energy of he doesn't care what I want. He doesn't care what I think. And it created anger and resentment and bitterness within me. And seeing the place a mess triggered that little girl that felt like dad never cared about what I wanted. My job in that moment is to go into that. My job in that moment is, there's a little girl that really felt like dad never cared about her opinions or what she thought or what she wanted. She's asking for love right now. So I went and I spent time with her. So, and then I come out of it and I see my partner, and he goes, what's up? What's going on? And as I'm sharing with him what I experienced, I could still feel the energy being activated because I was projecting it onto him. So it's got nothing to do with him. It's not that he and I shouldn't talk about the fact that the house is still a mess and we need to show up for ourselves responsibly and clean the place, right? That still needs to be talked about. But this angerness and this bitterness and this resentment, instead of projecting it onto him, I knew that was a dad wound. So as I'm speaking to him, it's still coming out of me. And my boyfriend looks at me beautifully and he goes, I don't think you went all the way in. He's like, I can still feel that it's still there. And I went, damn it. So I had to go back in and love her even deeper. So when I loved her deeper and I said, I'm here for you, your opinions matter to me. I care about you. Dad was super rigid because he had his own fears. He had his own ways of thinking that he projected onto you because he was running whatever he was running. It's got nothing to do with you. You were just the thing it was easy for him to be rigid because my dad needed to control me because he was afraid that something was going to happen to me outside of like the home, which is why he was so rigid with me, right? And understanding, helping that inner child understand, like, dad didn't do that to punish you. He was just running whatever he was running because he was scared, right? But I hear you. I love you. I'm here for you. When I came out of that, when I went to the second layer, my boyfriend came up to me. He goes, you good? And I looked at him. I was like, I'm good. And he's like, let's clean the place. And then, beautiful day. So what we have to, this is what we do in relationships though. We think it's them. You don't care about me. It's your fault. No, 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 honey. They're there to trigger something within you. They're reflecting back to you. The universe wants you to look at this part of you. And bam, that's conscious partnership. And my boyfriend being in his power, not taking on my shit and blaming himself and spiraling. And if he does spiral thinking, oh, I am irresponsible, that's his work to go into. What's that bringing up within him? But because he does so much work in that moment, he could see it had nothing to do with him. And I was still running what I needed to run. And him showing up for love for himself and me is going, I think there's still more work you need to do. And then me being responsible is going, you're right. That's conscious partnership.
Oh, that was just wonderful example that you laid out there. And what really, the point you made so clear is that triggering part, like this, as you mentioned the quote, like our relationships are here to make us happy, to make us conscious.
Mm-hmm.
There's always going to be this impulse.
Yep.
And for many of us who haven't gone and done this healing work,
Mm-hmm.
we act on the impulse. And you're
Yep.
right, we project it outwards.
Yep.
But for you to like take that impulse, but then to be mindful and to take the space within that impulse to go inward,
Mm-hmm.
that's remarkable, to become that conscious within yourself, to have worked on yourself that deep of being like, no, this has nothing to do with my partner.
Yep.
Let me go inward. Let me see where this is coming from. Let me love this. And then you can kind of go and you can have this
Yes. And let me,
mature adult conversation. But no,
yes.
go for it. I don't want to cut
And
you off.
Justin, the trigger, that's the gift.
Mm.
So when we get triggered, we immediately want to blame somebody, right? That's how low consciousness we are, right? And that's how we spread darkness in the world. When you throw up your darkness onto somebody else, that's why we are where we are. Because everyone just throwing up dark energy out, the pain out of them, instead of going into the pain and transforming it. The trigger is the gift. Find the gem in the trigger. I'll tell you a story. One of my clients that I was working with, she was telling me about this trigger we were working through. And she has a 15-year-old dog. And she said her dog came into the room, and her dog is so old, it's blind and it's deaf, and it whines, right? And she said the dog started whining. And at first she was being really tolerating it. She said, but by the 15th whine, she just lost it. So the trigger for her was the 15th whine. The moment you're taken out of peace is the trigger. And so it was like relentless whining, and then 15, and then all of a sudden she started going crazy on the dog. Like, you're so annoying, go to the other room. So I'm letting her say everything that's coming up. And then she says this one line where she goes, nothing I do is ever enough. Right? And I went, that's it. Nothing I do is ever enough, because our words are codes. So I go into that energy. Nothing you do is ever enough. And then bam, the pain came up. She started crying. She's like, it's my mom. She's like, because my mom was never home. She always had me do all these chores. And every time when she came home, I thought I did so great. And I was like, Mom, look at everything I did. And she'd be like, no, well, you didn't this still looks dirty and that still looks dirty. Nothing she ever did was enough, which means she didn't get love. And that pain came from her dog. So it had nothing to do with the dog. The dog is blind and deaf. It's whining. It's in pain, right? It's hurting. It's whatever. She's blind and deaf. It's got nothing to do with the dog. She was projecting the pain on the dog. But when she went into the pain, it was a mom wound. You see how this works?
Wow. And that, for me, redefines love, relationships, partnerships. Like, yes. I love where you're helping us collectively increase our conscious understanding of it, because once again, going back to how we started and talking about that whole fantasy piece, and I heard you share it too, like 1 + 1 does not equal 2, it equals 3.
Yes.
We're not looking for anyone to complete us. So it really continues to harp home the fact that we have to do the work within in order to be able to show up in a mature way when we are in connection with another. So the two other questions I want to ask you about relationships. One is about this topic of emotional availability, especially for those of us who have struggled with being able to open up, because we do run that program of wanting to protect ourselves and close ourselves off. But that, as we know, is not healthy for the survival of any relationship. Mm-hmm. So what would you offer to someone who recognizes they have this pattern of emotional unavailability, but wants to show up in an emotionally available way to be healthy when they're trying to create a healthy partnership with another person?
Well, first, I'd love to say this is what I'm working through currently. Is I literally thought that I was the most open, emotionally available person until I started dating a more open, emotionally available person. And I realized, oh, I am extremely closed. Because since I can remember, I've learned to close because it wasn't safe for me to be open. It wasn't safe for me to share my feelings. It wasn't safe for me to just be raw and be like, I'm moving through this. I feel this. I was always shut down. So I learned really early on that closing is safe. So like, even with every guy I've ever dated, like before they could break my heart, I would close so they couldn't hurt me. Right. And my mentor, Rachel, she has another quote that goes, only open hearts can never break. Only closed hearts can. Right. And so what we have to understand is you don't, whenever the person that is meant for your journey shows up, people think like, I want to be ready. They will show up when it's divinely time to show up. So for me, right, I could have left this relationship and been like, I'm so close. I can't do this. I need to go be by myself. But in reality, that's a weakness because I want to actually not feel what it feels like to be this immensely closed. And so for me, every time I'm not connecting deeper, I'm not opening, the number one step to healing is acute self-awareness. So when my boyfriend is asking me to open and I can't, that's time for me to go, I feel myself really close right now, or I feel myself closing right now. I need in real time right now to go love this aspect of me. And what I'm working through right now is loving, like when I go into this energy, I know it was when I was an infant. Like I learned how to close super young because my mom was going through a lot of things. I just learned how to close. I needed to be safe. I needed to protect myself. So your partner, if he or she is on the path with you, unconditional love from them is supporting you wherever you're at. Them needing to open, you to open, is because they need you to open so that they can feel open. That's codependency. When they can love you for where you're at, that's love. So when my boyfriend, who's more open than me, sees that I'm not open, right? He's not there to shame me, but it's my job to go, I can feel the walls right now. I can feel the barriers right now. This is not easy for me. So I just want to let you know that like I can't be where you're at right now, but I can share what I'm feeling. Because even sharing, that's opening. And I have a hard time sharing anything. Like he's always like, what do you feel? And I'm like, I'm fine. Everything, I dismiss everything because I learned to dismiss myself when I was young. I'm fine. I'm okay. Nothing's wrong, even though everything's wrong. Everything's crazy inside. But because it wasn't safe for me to open, I just say everything's fine. And so my boyfriend sits there, he goes, okay, that's okay. He's like, I can feel that like you don't want to share. And then in that moment, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm close right now. Okay. So I share it, I explain it to them, right? I explain it to him. And then I go in and I love that part of me. Like really like loving that little girl that learned how to close. Like when I say that I'm a master builder of walls, I'm a master builder at walls. I can feel when I drop into my heart, I can feel walls around my heart. So I've created a beautiful, I I made a video there. I'm like, Great Wall of China, you ain't got nothing on me. Like I built something stronger. My job today when I worked through a healing, I was hugging that wall. And as I was hugging, I was opening my heart. I was like, I know why you were built. I was like, you were here to protect me, but I love you and I want you to know like we're strong enough. Like we can do this. And I don't need you to be as strong as you are anymore. It's okay if you dissolve. It's okay if you break down. I'm here to love you as you dissolve, as you break down, because I'm ready to connect with myself. I'm ready to open. I'm ready to be available. I'm ready to share. And wherever you are, I'll love you. We'll go the pace exactly that you want to go. Because there's a little girl in me who's like this. I don't want to open. I don't want to do that. So it's like, okay, whatever you want to do, I'm here. You don't want to go fast? We don't have to go fast. You just want to take one step? We'll take one step. You don't want to open today? That's okay. I love you. I'm here. She has to, or he has to learn how to trust you because he or she learned that she couldn't trust anything outside of her. So it's about when you're in it to be aware because most closed people don't know they're closed. I didn't know I was closed until in this partnership, I realized I was closed. But shaming that aspect of me is not going to get me anywhere. Staying closed is not going to get me anywhere. It's not busting open. And there's also this part of me that's like, I want to open so I don't lose my boyfriend. And it's like, woo, is that self-love, Ellie? Who are you doing this for? Are you doing this for him? Because if you're doing this for him, you got to look into that. It's not about him. It's about showing up for you. It's about opening for you, not for him, for you. Because when I open for me, I can open for him. So there are layers to everything. You have to constantly ask yourself, what's being asked to be seen by me right now? What is being reflected to be right now in every single angle of this? Because there are layers to all of our wounds. I mean, think about it. We've been asleep for a very long time. So that's why this journey, it's not a sprint. You got to love yourself as you walk this journey because I have 32 years of pain. That's going to take me a minute. How can I love myself? Because the ego's like, hurry up. The ego's like, you know what? Give up. because like this is taking too long, and like you're not strong enough, you're not all these things. I can listen to my ego, or I can drop into my heart and connect with that space, knowing and understanding I'm perfect where I am. All I have to do is just show up for myself every day, every moment that I can.
And that's so powerful that you talk about, just once again going back to the importance of showing up for ourselves day in and day out and rebuilding that trust and rebuilding our core.
Yeah.
Ellie, the last question about love I want to ask you before we get into each one teach one is this, because for listeners who are out there who are saying to themselves, okay, I'm in a relationship, I'm not happy,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't make me feel good about myself, but they
Mm-hmm.
struggle with that program of codependency and thinking that they can't find any better.
Yeah.
What would you offer to them
Yeah.
if, once again, they know in their hearts and their souls that this relationship is not serving them, but they just for some odd reason can't get over that mental hurdle, that mental hump, that there's something else better out there for them? Yeah, anything that you would
Yeah.
just offer for any listeners struggling with that?
Yeah. So first I'd say, I mean, if obviously you're in any kind of abusive relationship, you know, you should probably leave and you should probably make sure that you're not in dangerous situations or anything like that. For people out there, right, who still have hope for the relationship, this relationship is here as your teacher. You're there to learn many things about yourself, to see many aspects of yourself. It's easier to leave because then you don't want to deal with it. Then you don't have to see something reflecting back to you. But if you can stay in that and work on yourself as you're in it and ignite the power within, and when you have that power, then you can make a decision of, is this relationship for me or not? Then leave from that point, that place. But if you get to a place of power and you're like, no, there's hope here. Because what's going to happen to you is as you work on yourself, because so many people in relationships want the partner to do the work. I want him to do it. I want her to do it. And it's like, boo, they're on their own individual journey. So you can't force someone to do the work. You got to do it for you. And if your partner sees and feels you and they decide they want that for themselves, beautiful. Then what you're going to create is beautiful love. My boyfriend and I are going through so much. I know that he and I, it's going to be hard for a while. But what we are creating out of this, it's going to be love like on another level because we are running through ourselves. We take divine responsibility for ourselves, right? So you need to do you. You are number one. Take care of you. And when you get to a place of power, then make the choice. And hopefully it'll be together.
And I just want to kind of emphasize what you shared there of the importance of stepping into our own power to
Yes.
manifest a conscious relationship. It's not us waiting for the person and trying to necessarily go out and find them. The power is within us stepping into that, and that will either help us to create it or it will just come into our world. But it all starts with us.
And also this idea too of like, there's no one else out there for me. Those are programs that are running, right? That's a lack of trust. That's a program that you're running, right? Anything you can create anything, but it's going to come from what you're emanating at. So if you truly believe there's no one else out there for you, there's no one else out there for you. But if you truly know the more work you do on yourself, what you're going to feel inside is going to be like nothing you've ever felt. And when you start vibrating at higher frequencies, all those limiting beliefs, they have no choice but to be alchemized. And you know that everything is possible. You know that you are the creator of your own reality. But so many people choose fear. And so what they experience in their life over and over again is fear, 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 fear. But what happens when you choose love? Different ballgame.
That's true law of attraction right there, to your point about that frequency part. If you elevate your frequency, you will attract that energy back. But to what you shared, if you don't, if you remain in that low vibration survival state, then yeah, what do you expect to be your outcomes?
And it's about loving the things that are blocking you from getting to higher frequencies. That's what it is. And that's the wounds. You know, everything about law of attraction is like, write down everything you want. It's like, it's such BS. It's like, no, do the self work, go into yourself. And then you don't have to write down everything you want in a partner and like, let me put a cup under the moon. It's like, those are fine. But it's like, that's not actually the work. You know, you're not going to get to the next evolution of you by doing things like that. That's you still at a consciousness level where you're like, oh, like I can control this. It's like you're running control programs. You're trying to control it by writing down everything you want. I'm going to manifest this guy. Let me tell you something. Even when you manifest everything you think that you want, you think it's not going to come with a plethora of trials and tribulations and challenges. So why not work on yourself so you can manifest or vibrate a partner that is going to meet you where you're at, and you guys can do this work together and elevate.
Ellie, you are goals. Just know that. And once again, this is why I find you so inspirational, and I'm
Thanks,
so
Justin.
just grateful for you to share your story, but to also just give us so much guidance on how to go along this path, which is going to be painful. It's going to be intense. It's going to be lonely.
Yeah.
But once you're on this path, to something you shared earlier, there is no going back. And
Yeah.
what awaits you it's beautiful and so much more than we could have expected. So
Mhm.
I want to just get to wrap things up about next is our each one teach one, just 4 rapid fire questions that I have for you, Ellie. So are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
All right, let's do it. So, what's one book that you would recommend that has been a game changer for you in your healing journey?
Mason's Way by Rachel Fiore. It's no
All
joke. It
right.
is here. Yes, you got it. I love that, Justin. Yes, the 20 Universal Ways of Oneness. This book is radical, and this is going to be the future of humanity. And I would say take your time reading this book and integrate it, and watch what happens when you begin to integrate the ways.
Yes, I back everything you shared. I'm just diving into it, but it has already kind of had an effect on my perspective and
Yep.
helping me to want to show up differently, and the importance of accountability, which
Yep.
you've talked about
Hmm.
of ourselves.
Yep.
Oh, so it's a
Beautiful.
wonderful work there. So the second question is, what's one habit or practice that has been most impactful in your own lifestyle design?
Go into your triggers. Stop avoiding them. They are there for a reason. The universe is trying to co-create with you, but they need you to look at the aspects of you that are in your shadows that really need your love. So take responsibility for yourself and go in, and stop blaming other people. My God, like look where blaming other people has gotten us. Like this is like the lowest of the low. Go into your pain and love it.
Well said on that, Ellie. So the next question is, what's one law or policy that you would create that everyone would need to abide by?
Take divine responsibility over yourselves. Truly. When I started doing that, everything changed. And it creates so much hate out there, and everybody is so in their weakness. They're so afraid to feel what's inside of them, so they constantly blame everything outside of themselves. And the way that we're going to shift is by taking responsibility over yourself and going inwards. Go within. That's what I would say.
Good. There. And then our final question for you, Ellie, and this is a question I'm asking all guests this season, is what's one law about love that was important for you to learn in order to become who you are today?
I am love. And I know that even that in itself, even when I say it, I'm like, oh, people are going to think that's corny. But when you truly understand that all there is love, all there is love, and not the kind of love that they feed you, that we've literally been programmed to believe that love is. Love is a billion times deeper. That word is a billion trillion times deeper than what we know it is. Love is what makes everything go round. Love is the answer. Love is what's going to shift us. We are one. And the only way that we're going to get to oneness is by learning and understanding that all we are is love. And when we love ourselves, we can love everybody else. When you see the love within you, you see the love within others.
Well said, Ellie. So as we wrap things up, Ellie, like what's next for you and where can people go to find more about you and
Yeah.
also to tap into your mystical life coaching?
Yeah. So I still do a lot of on-camera work, but I definitely am going hard with the mystical life coach. So you can set up a free consultation with me. It's in the link in my bio. You can follow me on TikTok and Instagram at Ellie Lee, and I'll tell you all about the 3-4 month program that we offer at Masters of Self University. And you can work on with me one-on-one, and we'll teach you the step-by-step tools to really look into and dive into loving all of your unhealed aspects of yourself that really need your attention. So yeah, work with me. I'm hungry. I'm passionate. I love this work so much. And I know that for me, I know that there's a reason why I've been doing on camera work for 15 years. And I know that in the future, that will all collide in a very beautiful, beautiful way. And so, if you feel the calling to work with me, sign up a free consultation and let's go.
Thank you for sharing all that, Ellie. I'll make sure in the show notes we include everything from the IG, the Instagram, the YouTube, all of that, because like I said, when the students are ready, the teacher appears, and you've been that for me, and you've expanded my universe so much. So I just want to thank you again for your time, but also just sharing your awakening and your evolution with all of us, because I think you are helping so many of us who are on this path of awakening really to tap in and to go deeper in it,
Yeah.
so that we could also serve to help the collective and the communities around us, so that we're all awakening and we go from being the minority to the majority. So
Mm-hmm.
I just thank you for, once again, all that you offer and your time today, because I know we went beyond what I thought we were going to go, but I just am so gracious for everything that you've shared and offered.
Yeah. Thank you, Justin. Whatever you see in me, it's in you. So thanks for being my mirror, and you're welcome for being your mirror.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
So, folks, that's it for today's show. I'd like to thank you for your presence and tuning in today. If you enjoy this episode, please show your support by sharing the Living Once Twice podcast on everywhere from Instagram, LinkedIn, or whatever, leaving us a review on iTunes. Also, be sure to follow us at Living Once Twice on Instagram, reaching out to you all through the time and the space that separates us to say, remember, your dream life is waiting for you. It's time to go for it. You deserve it. Catch you later on Living Once Twice.